Good morning. My name is Carl Dakin, and this is Boris Mannsfield. And this is the first of a series of live stream shows entitled Belize Real Estate and Lifestyles. And Boris and I want to share with you information about Belize. Basically, anything
Yep.
Belize is open for discussion. And this is, since it's live stream, we have the ability for people who are viewing this live to comment in LinkedIn or YouTube or Facebook. And if you want to say hi, you have a question, you want to make a comment, feel free to do so. With that, I will share with you my quick background on this. And I met Boris a long time ago because he lives in Denver part of
Yep.
the year, where I live in Colorado. But he splits his time in Belize. And I was working with a university where we decided that what we wanted to do was to plant a teak tree forest in Belize as an agricultural capstone project. And so I got to talking with Boris about that. That led to a discussion of what we call tourism, medical tourism.
Yeah.
So we looked into that, and this has led to a long relationship where we're working together on a variety of projects that involve student teaching students about business in Belize and the culture and lifestyle of Belize, and then extending into a number of Boris's projects. So I'll let Boris introduce himself, and then Boris, just share with us why Belize. Let's start off with that as a question.
Well, that's a good question. Yeah, thanks, Carl. We're very excited to have this initial show starting today. Yeah, thanks for Carl to help put it all together. And I've known Carl for a long time now. As Carl mentioned, we ran into each other in Belize and in here in Denver, and we've continued to work together on promoting various business components in Denver as well as in Belize as well as elsewhere. And it's been a great ride so far. And you brought up the teak farm, and you brought up the medical tourism project. There's a lot of different components we were looking at and trying to push through the system. Some of them worked out, some didn't, but that's pretty normal. But it's great to be here, and I'm glad we got the show going. There's a lot of great things going on about Belize right now, especially. I hate to be political, but obviously with elections, there's a lot of people on either side of the party looking to move somewhere, either because they feel like they want to move out of the country for various reasons, but also for economic reasons. Some people feel like the economy is continuing to do well, and there's a lot of prosperity in America in the future. So a lot of people are looking to just broaden their investment portfolio, and places like Belize are very attractive. So it's a great time to be involved, and the economy and the tourism is picking up. And right now, the tourism high season starting, thank God. Right now, Thanksgiving is really the start of the big high tourist season. So it'll go from now till about through May. So it'll get busier and busier every day. We have more airlines coming in this year to Belize. I think we have on the peak, I think we have 26 airlines coming in per day on the weekends, which is a lot for Belize. I remember the old days. I've been going down there for 32 years now. I mean, there was one flight coming in a day, if that. And in my last newsletter, I found an old picture of the old airport in Belize, and I've promoted that. And it's a tiny little building. Every year, the airport gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and now they're expanding it again. Actually, I think they just announced a $260 million airport expansion over the next 10 years or so. So as tourism picks up in Belize, more people are coming. So they got to improve the infrastructure.
Yeah, so let's start with that. First, we have people already in our audience. So Emiliano De Laurentiis is with us this morning. Emiliano is in my network. We work together on educational avatars, and we're talking about putting one together for this show and for the country of Belize, that we can train up to have you with a 24 by 7, 365 source of information, and looking forward to getting that in place so that anyone who wants information on Belize will be able to get it. The country provides a lot of information. Different vendors, hospitality centers provide a lot of information. You can get information on a variety of tourism activities, agriculture, so forth and so on. But Boris and I, we don't want to brag, but we probably, between the two of us, we can find out anything you need to know. So
Yeah,
uh,
that's for
you can
sure.
ask, yeah, you can ask us here on the show or otherwise.
And
You can
simple,
ask,
simple things too, like where's the best taco, or where's the best diving spot, or where can I get the cheapest but most powerful margarita? I mean, there's all kind of questions we can answer. We've been at it for a while.
and so yes, my wife commented this morning that this is not my normal work shirt. This is specially selected for today's show. This is they have kind of a, as you call it, the attitude when you walk into a paradise, a country that has beaches and warm weather, and it kind of gives you an immediate sense of relaxation, that it's moving at a slower pace than what I'm accustomed to here in Denver. And so this is part of my, I will call it my ongoing uniform. I may have to get some more shirts for future shows, but we'll see where that goes to.
I think we need to get you a mascot, the parrot on the shoulder.
Absolutely. I do have a Placencia Belize hat that has a parrot on it, so I think that's a good thing. I also want to recognize Don Cohen, who's in the audience this morning. Don is a mentor of mine who works with me on putting together LinkedIn Live shows like this.
Oh, great.
Everything that I do correct today is due to Don, and everything that I mess up today is due to me. So
And me.
well, Boris is new to this, so we'll be tag teaming here, going back and forth through the program. But again, thanks, Don, for being with us. And so, Boris, there are just so many things to talk about in Belize. What called it to my attention as I try to go back in the memory machine is that I had a guy come to me when they first started doing vacation clubs, and he liked the idea that you could pay a fee and it would allow you to go to different places around the world as part of a club. But he didn't like the structure because financially, you put your money in and later you could get your money out, but there was no appreciation, there was no investment potential within that. And me being the kind of person who loves to do new financial models, he said, "Hey, Carl, could you make a different model that would include appreciation, where we could, actually get something that grows in value over time?" I said, "Sure, sounds great." So I went out and studied vacation resorts around the world and came up with a club model where it was a combination of having a vacation in a club site, but also buying land and developing it. And we created a huge, massive business plan for this called Villa Venture. And the place that came up number one on the chart as a demo of what we had in mind was Belize. It had all the attributes where I love beaches. Since I grew up in Kansas, I'm now in Denver. We don't have a lot of beaches.
Yeah, that's true.
And the ones we have are under snow at the moment. So it's not necessarily the place to go to a beach. But I realized as we were doing vacation that vacation spots around the world are sometimes one dimensional. There's a beach chair, there's a margarita, all good things, not a bad combination at
Yeah.
all, but that's all there is to do. Where Belize offered so many different other things that every day of a week, what you might be down there on vacation, you could do almost anything. You could go fishing one day, you could go up in the mountains the next day, visit Mayan ruins, go zip lining. It's just so many different things to do that you could fill your calendar and not feel like it was a one-dimensional spot.
Yeah.
So I think Belize has so much to offer in that regard. But there's other things, more business-oriented things other than tourism, which create investment opportunities and also create a potential retire. Belize has a very open system that allows people who decide that maybe living in snow part of the year is not for them, and they want to live in a warmer climate. So these are all things we're going to talk about on this show.
Yeah, sounds good. I think I think Carl, you hit a couple of the key the nails, a couple of the nails in the head. Belize is a great place for access in terms of moving there and actually setting up a retirement place. There's a lot of benefits. They have different types of retirement programs and plans in place, so it's easy to get there. As you mentioned, it's definitely a beach setting there. It's very relaxing, rejuvenating, but we also have plenty of things to do there. There's the ocean and the world's second largest barrier reef, and we have lots of fishing and diving and sailing and all those components. And then we also now have also a lot of active organizations there. Like we have humane societies really active in Belize. Um, all these different international organizations are there for the retirees to be involved with in the community. So there's lots of stuff to do. And as you mentioned, in terms of business aspects, there's lots of tax incentives. The government gives a lot of financial incentives for investing in Belize. There's obviously the condominiums, the houses, and all that, but there's also hotels, small resorts, islands, businesses. There's all kind of things to do in Belize in terms of a business perspective. Right now, one of the big trends in Belize is setting up call centers. So there's quite a few call centers in Belize now. So there's lots of different components. Agriculture is big, coconut farms, chocolate, coffee. There's lots of different components there that are very opportunistic right now. So lots of great things to talk about. As you mentioned, we want to talk about the culture, about the country, about the opportunities, about the people. So I'm very excited. Yeah, let's keep moving forward.
Yeah, so one of the things Boris and I have done together that is still going on is back in 2019, I was working with the University of Denver, and I was asked if I might be able to put together a course for the week between quarters. The University of Denver is not a semester, but a quarter structured thing. And they said, hey, we'd like to get the students outside the country. We'd like to give them a fresh look at the world. We'd like for them to learn about things that are outside the United States. Could you put together a course on that? And I immediately said, yes, I think I can. I know exactly who to call. And I called Boris and explained to him what I was looking for. And he was kind enough to provide me a letter on his letterhead that I gave back to the head of the department the very next day and said, is this what you were looking for? And essentially, we set up a week in Belize meeting with business people, local governments, different groups within the country that allowed a student to see the world from two perspectives, the US and that of Belize. And we realized that the differences were great and the similarities were great. It made for a great course. And one of the reasons I particularly liked working with Belize is that it was a former British colony, so English is the language of the country. And I've never been good with other languages, so I was so happy I could stick with my limited ability to speak English. And at the same time, their currency is tied to the US dollar. So 2 Belizean dollars equals 1 US dollar. And so all the issues surrounding currency also were very stable and a very friendly relationship with the United States. So it made for a major leap in looking at the world without going so far to get
Yeah,
lost.
yeah.
But we put that program on first time in 2019. COVID got in the way, but we put it on again this year in March, and we're already approved for March of next year. So looking to do bigger and better, but there's several things I think the audience would be interested in that represent differences between the U.S. and Belize. I'll let Boris pick up with that. What do you think the biggest differences are?
Well, God, like you mentioned, the countries are very similar but very far apart. I think the biggest thing that we all need to get accustomed to when we do live in Belize as well as invest in Belize is we're definitely on island time. I mean, as you know, you've been down there plenty of times. Things are slower. Things don't get done right away. Your attorney may not respond to you within an hour. Your attorney may not respond for 3 or 4 days. Things are just slower. And I think that's a pro and a con. I mean, that's one reason people want to move down there is to relax and get away from all the hecticness that we have everywhere else. But on the other hand, people, when they get down there, they've got to really accept that and really blend into it. Usually when people come down for a week on vacation, they'll slowly blend in after 4 days, and then they're relaxed for 2, and then they got to go home again, back to stress. So I think that's the biggest item that is of difference. As Carl had mentioned, having English as one language in both countries is a huge benefit. It's easy for us to do business. We can communicate obviously with everybody, with your attorney and with your business partners. And it's great for tourism because then you really can blend in with the local people. It's not like us versus them. Everybody blends together. And that's one of the biggest things that I like about Belize is that everybody sort of cooperates and interacts. So I think that's a huge thing in common in the countries. And also, Carl, as you mentioned, I mean, we're English speaking. We're part of the British Commonwealth, so we have a similarity to legal laws, similar to in the U.S. So there's a lot of similarities, but there are a few differences. And also, the country is it's very small. I mean, it's only 400,000 people. It's 70 miles wide by about 170 miles long, so it's a tiny place. So, which is good and bad. So yeah, there's lots of similarities, but definitely a few differences. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's interesting. A lot of people may be familiar with different places in the world where you can stand on a beach and see the mountains,
Yeah,
and they're not far away. Um, and if the beach is not where you want to be today, you can go up into the highlands and enjoy a higher altitude and kind of almost a called a farming type setting where you'll see a lot of cattle and other types of agricultural production. And between the 2 points, you will come across coconut groves and orange groves and other things, which are all clearly tropical.
yeah,
It gives you a lot of choices, but it's still as Boris described it, it's on a slower time clock.
it is. It is. And I think, Carl, you bring up a good point. You and I both being in Colorado, it's great to have the mountains down there close by to the beach. And also just the fact that in Colorado, as we all know, it can get pretty chilly in the winter. So it's a great destination for people from Colorado to go in the winter when it's a little bit warmer. We have direct flights from Denver now and United and Southwest. It's only about 4 hours and 15 minutes direct. So in the winter, when it's February and it's really cold here, it's easy to get to Belize for a week or two. And we have a similar mentality there as well as here. It's very family oriented in Belize. And also in Placencia on the peninsula, it's a very active community. A lot of the expats come down there. Some come down there just to relax and do nothing, but a lot of them do come down there to be active. They want to go fishing, diving, sailing, hiking, and all that. It's all available right there. So we attract a lot of those people from Colorado that are more into that active retirement kind of phase. Yeah, so it's really nice to have all that down there.
Yeah, as Emiliano just pointed out, there are a lot of direct flights to Belize. Sometimes it requires a connecting flight through Miami or Houston or something like that. But the number of flights is going up, and the prices are very reasonable. So you can get down there in a hurry.
Yep.
I remember on a number of my trips, people were saying, well, when are you leaving for Belize? And I go, I just got back because you didn't have to take 1 to 2 days to get to your destination and 1 to 2 days to get back. On a direct flight, you can basically take off at 1:30 from Belize International Airport in Belize City and be back in Denver in time for dinner. It's really nice.
And there's actually a real early flight too. It's a little too early for most people, but there's a 5 a.m. flight from Denver to Houston to Belize, And I take that every once in a while when I have to get down there for a meeting, and I'll be down there at 11:30 in the morning. And then I get to the beach. I'll be at the beach within an hour after that. So I'm at the beach by 1 o'clock. And it's great to be able to get somewhere so quick. I've talked to a lot of clients and friends who, go to Bahamas and BVI's and all those places, and it takes 2 days to get there. Where Belize, it's a quick flight. Houston, Dallas, Chicago. We have now San Francisco starting this year. We have now Calgary, Atlanta, Miami, Denver. Lots of flights. And we're getting more and more flights every year, and we're real close on getting an airline coming in from Europe. So the government's been working on that for years. They even expanded the international airport runway about, I don't know, 6 or 7 years ago, or even more than that, 8 years ago, for these direct flights coming in from Europe that never materialized. But the airport's ready for that. And right now the airport is going under more expansion to allow for more flights coming in. So I think right now the government's talking with KLM out of Amsterdam and also Lufthansa out of Frankfurt, hoping to get these direct flights starting soon, I hope. And it'll be great to get the European direct flights. Yeah.
Yeah, so just a little bit of geography lesson for those of you who don't have your Wikipedia open or an atlas on your desk. Belize is on what's called the Yucatan Peninsula. It's immediately south of the country of Mexico, and that puts it just basically sticking out into the Caribbean. And as Boris described it, the second largest barrier reef in the world with islands everywhere. And so when you're thinking about flying into Belize, what typically happens is you'll get on a plane in the United States, you will fly to Belize City and the international airport, and then from there, you can get to pretty much anywhere you want to go by rental car, by bus or shuttle, or you can take a plane jumper that will go down the coast and can get you to your destination a little bit quicker. And there are several cities along the coast between Belize City and Placencia, which is in the southern, but not the most southernmost city in Belize, Punta Gorda being the most southern city. And when I use the term city, I want to be careful. Town, village might be a better description.
Yeah,
And when
officially, Placencia is officially a village, officially. Yeah. So.
Yeah. And so when Boris says he can get to the beach quickly after he gets back into Belize, since he can walk to the beach from his office in Placencia, it's not a long haul to get there.
No, not at all. And as Carl mentioned too, Placencia is a real popular destination, but there's also Ambergris Caye, which is the big island to the north of Belize City, and the main town there is called San Pedro, and that's where probably most tourists go, to the town of San Pedro. And then you also have Caye Caulker, which is an island off of Belize City as well, but a little bit more to the south, and that's becoming really popular for tourists. A little bit more backpacker oriented, but it's definitely going more in the higher end direction now in terms of development. And then you also have the jungle area like the Cayo district, which is to the west of towards the Guatemala border. And there you have more jungles and rivers and birds and those kind of activities and caves that you can explore and hiking and zip lining. Where down south where Placencia is, you have the islands, and then you have the mountains in the background. So the nice thing about Placencia is you have a little mix of both. In the same day, you can go snorkeling or diving in the morning and go zip lining and hiking in the jungle in the afternoon, and then come back to the beach and get your sunset margarita if you want, which is very important. So yeah, I mean, it's a great location, as Carl says, lots of stuff going on, easy to get to.
Yeah, so there's so many things to do, but one of the things that I found most interesting was the ancient Mayan civilization.
Yep.
As Boris stated, the current population of Belize is only about 400,000 people for the entire country. But the estimates were that at the height of the Mayan civilization, there were over 3 million people in Belize that were part of that group. And there are ruins and artifacts from their occupation at that time all over the country. And they are massive. They are cool. I just, when you see something that was built so long ago, that is of such size and complexity, and knowing what they had to work with, it's just an amazing engineering feat,
Yeah.
and worth its own visit just to understand, the culture and what was going on at that time.
And what's interesting too, the tallest building or structure in Belize is still a pyramid to this day. We are building more taller buildings in Belize City, office buildings, especially for all these call centers. But yeah, the pyramids are still the tallest. And also, one of the great things about the ruins in Belize is there's no one ever there. I mean, you can go to these ruins and you may see 10 people, 20, maybe nobody, and you got the whole place to yourself. It's pretty amazing. Where if you go to someone like Tikal, which is in Guatemala, I mean, there's hundreds of tourist buses there, and you're basically just, just going around like cattle, trying to get to these pyramids. So I think that's a really nice component of Belize. And, we still have the Mayan people, especially down in the southern region of Belize called the Toledo district. There's a lot of Mayans that still live there. Mayan tradition, chocolate growing or creation from cacao plants, and lots of agriculture and just a lot of history down there. It's pretty amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's been interesting as I've visited a number of the Mayan sites. As Boris pointed out, you're going like, I wonder if I can get a picture of that temple without 1,000 people between me and the temple. And you can.
Yeah.
You could say, yeah, I mean, it's almost like you've got a private reservation for the
Yeah.
entire site all by yourself.
Yeah.
And you can get some amazing photographs, and whether you want to put yourself into the photograph as a selfie, or you simply want something that you can put up on the wall in your office, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it
To
is.
see these things.
I got some pictures of some pyramids where there was literally no one there. I mean, just it's amazing. It's like somebody came in there and like you're like VIP and you come in there and the guards come and clear everybody out. Everybody move, everybody get away. We got to take a picture. Something important's coming, but it's just me or you. And it's pretty cool actually.
Yeah, and they're quite accessible. We proved that inside out on our last trip with the University of Denver. We had a couple students who had mobility issues. One had just had surgery on her foot, and the other one was recovering from a broken foot. So we had crutches and wheelchairs, and we were able to get into the sites, and we were not able to get the wheelchair to the top of the temple. I do have to admit that.
We tried.
we gave it serious thought, and then we decided no, that
The big hot air balloon didn't quite work the way we thought it would.
But no, until you see it, it's just really, really hard to picture how large these are, how immense, how intricate they are, and and considering when they were built again, it was a great engineering feat. And so much to learn there. So we got a question. Michael Feely joined us in the audience this morning. Good morning, Michael. Michael and I engage in projects dealing with sports and sports businesses and so on. But he raises the question, what are the requirements to move to Belize? I think Michael's thinking about relocating and for retirement or otherwise, because Michael's not old enough to retire like I am. So he's looking for, I think, an earlier potential move down there. So what's involved?
Yeah, retirement. It's really easy to retire down in Belize. Most people, when they come as a tourist, they just come with a tourist visa, which is good for a month. You stay down for a month and come and go. A lot of people end up moving down there on a tourist visa, and then they actually just get their tourist visa renewed every month, which is a small fee, and you can do that for a while. Some people have stayed on there for years regarding that and using that strategy. But the other strategy, there's a program called QRP, which stands for Qualified Retired Person. And that's for people that are 45 years or older. If you want to move to Belize, you go through this program, you fill out the application. It's a small fee to apply. And then the only requirements are that you got to be 45 years or older, and you got to put about $2,000 a month or $24,000 a year into a checking account so that you have some money to actually retire on. They don't want you coming down there and being a bum. So that's one program that a lot of people that move down there utilize, because then with the QRP program, you get a QRP card with your picture, and then you can live there as long as you want, and you can come and go. So you don't have to get your visa renewed. That's the easiest program. There's another program that they just recently implemented where you can invest in real estate or in a business, and you can get a residency. And a lot of people are looking to, pick up these types of programs. They're obviously available in British Virgin Islands, Caymans, other places. And so Belize has the same thing. Basically, you've got to invest $250,000 in a business or real estate that creates jobs and stimulates the economy. And then you get what's called a temporary residency card, which is good for a year, but then you can renew it every year automatically for a small fee. So that way is the easiest way to get your residency. With residency in Belize, you're allowed to work, you can open a business, you can vote locally. There's lots of things you can do as a resident. And I personally have a residency card, so I come and go a lot. It's as if I live there full time. And the other program is full-time residency, which you can get, and that's really the cheapest way to do it. But basically, you've got to move to Belize for 1 year, and during that 1 year, you can only leave for a total of 2 weeks out of that year. And they'll check your passport after a year. And if you qualify, then you can apply, and then you become a resident right away. Yeah. And then a lot of people ask about passports. How do I get a passport? The way to get a passport, you got to be a citizen. To become a citizen, you got to be a resident for 5 years. And then you can apply for citizenship. So those are really the programs that are around. So it's really easy. I mean, literally, you can literally just pack up and go down there and stay as long as you want.
Yeah, it's become a more popular thing over the last several years to have dual residencies, dual citizenships, where people go, well, are you a citizen of the United States? You go, yes, but you could also be a citizen of Belize.
Yeah.
It doesn't require that you give up citizenship in one country in order to gain a dual citizenship. And a lot of people today, I don't know whether it's because they have more money to work with, or they simply want to be more of a wanderer rather than being anchored to a single place for the rest of their life. But we're seeing more and more people take this approach. Now, some of them do it for totally personal reasons. Some do it for business, some as an investment option on how they go about doing their investment portfolio. But it's an interesting thing for people to look at. And I think as you get older and you have a little more flexibility maybe in your job, I say that as an older person, but I know a lot of Gen Zers start with high flexibility and stay with high flexibility throughout their careers. It's an interesting topic, and this is one of the topics I know that we're going to go deep on in a future show. We're going to try to take a lot of the topics we talked about today and do a deep dive. We're going to bring in some guests who will bring more perspective. They may be the expert on the topic for us to talk to. We're going to bring in some business people who are running businesses in Belize and let them talk about their adventure in moving to Belize, setting up a business in Belize, and how that works as an expat from another country. We have another question here. This is from Emiliano talking to Michael. But he says, maybe we should buy a place together and timeshare it. And my response is, call me.
Well, I also see there's another note here from Zach asking if there are any restrictions on purchasing real estate for U.S. citizens. That's another great thing about Belize. There are absolutely no restrictions, and you get fee simple title, just like you get a warranty deed here in the U.S. So you own the property outright. If you pass away, it goes to your next of kin. You own it forever and ever. And you can set up ownership by your personal name, a U.S. company, a U.S. trust, a Belize company, a Seychelles company. There's almost no restrictions. And soon, probably, as Elon Musk, goes to Mars, you can even set up a Mars company to take ownership. So there's really no restriction, which is a great thing about Belize. And the fact that you get title is really one of the main reasons that I invest in the country, because without a fee simple title, I would not be interested. So it's very easy to do. And also one thing that Carl had sort of hinted at about the business opportunities in Belize, we have very low taxes. Property taxes down there are usually less than $100 a year. on most properties, even multi-million-dollar homes. Some of them are $50 a year. You also have no capital gains tax in Belize, which is really, really amazing. And then income tax on rental income is only 1.75%. So there's a lot of ways for investments in the Belize to grow quicker and quicker because you're not paying out all these taxes. Yeah. So there's lots of incentives there.
Yeah, one of the things that was important when we were working with students is explaining to them the difference in property taxes. And property taxes, everybody goes, well, this is the way it works because that's what they're used to in the United
Yeah.
States, where the value of your property, no matter how realistic it may be, or the fact that it appreciated on you, even though this is your personal residence, you're still paying higher and higher taxes every year on the same property. And for people who are on fixed incomes here in Colorado, as across the United States, this has become a serious problem where because the value of the property went up and the taxes followed the value of the property, they're now paying more taxes on the same income that they have.
Yeah.
And in many cases, it's forced them out of their houses into rentals or lesser properties. But that won't happen in Belize. They tax property differently. So if you sell the property, you'll pay a tax upon transfer of the property. So it's kind of like the government's a joint venturer with you in the appreciation on the property, but you're not paying taxes year in and year out on that property.
Yeah, and to clarify that too, the person who pays that transfer tax is actually the buyer. So when a seller sells a property, they only pay the commission, and then the buyer actually pays all the closing costs plus the transfer tax, which is 8%. So you got to take that into consideration when you buy a property. It's one respondent here asked what the real estate prices are like in Belize. Well, I think there's a lot of opportunity there for appreciation because Belize it's growing, expanding in terms of tourism and real estate, but you're not at the bottom of the heap where I was many years ago when I started buying. I thought it was going to boom overnight, and then I'm waiting and waiting and waiting. Finally, it all happened, but it took a while. So right now it's a great time to buy because you're not waiting, but also the market continues to increase. We had some lots listed through one of my companies just a year ago. We had them listed on the beach for $300,000. And we had some sales, and then the owner that we represented said we're going to raise the price to 380, and we made an announcement the prices were going up, so a few more people bought, and then once that time frame, that deadline came, we raised the prices to 380, and now we have buyers buying at 380. So some people made 80 grand in equity just overnight. So there's plenty of room. Beach lots go anywhere from 300 to 450 for your own Caribbean beachfront lot with a nice 80 feet of beach. Your condos start around 300 to 400, go up to over $1 million, and then your beach houses will start right now around 700, and then a lot of them now are going up to that $1.2 million, $1.4 million, $1.8 million. Where a couple of years ago there was nothing in the $1 million price range. One house right now in the Placentia region is under contract for almost $5 million, which is probably the most expensive price in Belize. So prices are going up, but there's lots of room for appreciation. So it's a good time to get involved.
Yeah, so going back to Zach, Zach is an entrepreneur who's working on a new model for investing in real estate that falls under the broader category of fractional ownership. And this is not new in one sense because we've had timeshares, as was asked about earlier, where different people basically get a deed for a week or a month or some portion of a year in a piece of real estate. But the fractional ownership is going in a slightly different direction in that essentially we're converting the property into a business and then selling stock in that business, which allows you to get into finer and finer ownership without necessarily having to allocate it on a week-by-week basis or any of the other good or bad things that happen with timeshares. And with the new ability to exchange ownership through digital exchanges, which is like an asset-backed cryptocurrency, now we're seeing opportunities where people can buy into a piece of property with a small amount of money. They'll have the right to participate in the profits of that. And depending upon how the ownership is structured in the business, they may also have preferential rights to rent the property or use the property throughout the year. which can be a tremendous twofer, as I call it, where it's not a singular type of investment. It's got multiple benefits and on board. So Zach is working to create a new and better and sophisticated exchange model to support fractional ownership. And so to the question about time sharing, yes, we could time share it, but I think that Zach's approach is going to be the far superior approach
Yeah.
going into the future.
And if I can add to that, time sharing is not very popular in Belize. I think there's only one or two timeshare projects in Belize. I think they're up in Ambergris Key. The first one they started many years ago. They had a lot of issues with it, so the government got real nervous about it. So fractionals is a pretty popular program there. Basically, the way it works, you set up a corporation. You have, let's say, 10 shares. You sell one share, which is 10% for whatever amount you want to sell it for. Then you have 10 owners that own the company. The company has the title. And then since there's 52 weeks out of the year, every owner gets 5 weeks of vacation time or usage for that property. And then there's a pool to decide, who gets which week and all that. And it rotates usually, so it's fair for everybody. And then everybody gets 5 weeks. And then the property gets managed. And then if you want, you can occupy your 5 weeks, or you can rent it out for 5 weeks, and whatever money you get for those 5 weeks goes into your pocket, obviously minus some of the upkeep. But that's pretty much the way it works. And it's a pretty popular program in Belize, because what it allows people to do is you could buy a $2 million property and you get 10%. So you're only paying $200,000, but you got a $2 million beautiful 5-bedroom beach house with a pool, maybe even a pickleball court. And it's a great property, but you're only paying $200,000. And most people don't have more than 5 weeks a year to use it anyway, because they're too busy in vacation and everything else. So it's been a great program in Belize. And I got a good friend of mine, David, who's done quite a few of these fractionals in the Placencia area. And I can definitely help people out if they're interested in some kind of fractional kind of program. I can give you all the details. Yeah, works great.
Yeah, so if I start adding together all the pieces of knowledge that we've already shared on this program, if you got 10 people to buy a $2.5 million house, that would be a $250 million investment in a local business, which would meet your requirements to become a resident.
The 250,000, yeah, 250 million be a little steep. Yeah, thousand. Well, it
10
depends.
people are 250,000 apiece.
Yeah. I got you. Yeah, definitely. This program for the residency, it's really got to be in a business or real estate that creates a lot of long-term jobs and also stimulates the economy. So fractional probably won't qualify. It may. I'd have to see. It really depends on how many jobs are being created. The thing that the government doesn't want people to do is try to just buy a beach house and then try to get residency that way. So it's really got to be more in a more established business.
So that follows the United States program that some people may be familiar with, called an EB-5 program, where a foreign national can essentially set the table to become a citizen in the United States by investing into a project in the United States. And similar to what Boris was just describing, there's got to be so many jobs created by the investment over a period of time in order to qualify. And the dollar amount of that investment is, I believe it's $750,000 into a rural or economically distressed area, or $1 million into a more urban or wealthier economic area. But it follows the same pattern. All countries enjoy foreign investment, money to come into the country because it builds the wealth of that country. But not all money coming into a country builds wealth equally. So they will give preferences to different types of projects, different types of businesses, because that's what they want to emphasize. So we'll get together the information on that specific program, and when we come back to this topic in a later show, we'll share more detail on just exactly how you can go about qualifying for residency with a $250,000 investment.
Yeah. We have lots of things we can cover in a lot more detail in the future shows, and there's just a lot of great opportunities, a lot of things to discuss. Yeah, and we look forward to it.
Yeah, we have enough topics right now. It's one of the questions is how frequently do we want to do this show? We have enough topics already on the table to do one a month going forward, but if we double down on the topics, we may go bi-weekly
Yeah.
so that we can get more information out to everyone. And so we appreciate everyone who's in the audience today
Yeah.
who is asking questions because you're helping guide us in our thinking and in our topic selection. And because otherwise I'll just talk about me or Boris will talk about him or we'll talk about each other and
We
sooner or
don't want
later.
that. Yeah, it's great that we have this question and answering session, where people can ask questions and we can sort of deviate the subject matter based on the questions. Because, like a lot of countries where people are thinking about moving, there's a lot of unknowns, a lot of uncertainty, a lot of questions. And that's one reason we're putting on the show is to give people not just more information and on the ground information on how to move to Belize or how to get involved in Belize, but also just for tourists. I mean, I've been to most of the sites. I've been diving, snorkeling. I've been to the top of Victoria's Peak, which is the tallest mountain. I've been in the Blue Hole. I've been to the caves. I've eaten good food, some bad food, mainly good food. I've had some good drinks, some bad drinks. But yeah, we're here to. It's just a very broad show we're doing here, and as I think as Carl mentioned at the description, it's not a sales pitch show. We're here to really educate, and that's what I have a real estate company in Belize too, and it's our focus is not selling real estate. It's educating people on the opportunity in Belize. So that's really what the show's about, is just being informative.
Yeah, so Boris is, as usual, being modest. He has a real estate company. He has at least one to half a dozen development projects underway. He's works with community projects, helping out in the community, getting different things to happen to improve the local neighborhood. And this is Emiliano is asking about photos, so we're doing some experimentation here today. So
Yeah,
I'm curious. So here's a photo just to address. This is the only photo I have available at the moment. We're going to get some more.
a lot more. Yeah,
But just to let you know, this is a little bitty island that is off the coast of Placencia, where I took my family when I went down to Belize in the year of 2019. And it's in a marine conservation reserve, and it's something important for everybody to know about Belize. They have one of the largest, strongest environmental conservation programs of any I know. And this is in the middle of a preserve. It just happens to be an island. And the water is gorgeous. These are palm trees overlooking white sandy beaches. And this was accessible through a tourism rental. We hired a guide to take us out to the island for the afternoon. And we just had a great time being on our own island. It wasn't ours, but we were the only on it at the time, kind of like the Mayan situation.
yeah,
And there are just so many islands in this area. And I know that one of the topics we're going to talk about in the future is owning your own island.
yep,
I think it somehow strikes a chord with so many of us
yeah.
who think that this is the ultimate accomplishment. So we'll
Well,
come back to that.
and just regarding that, real quick, in Belize, that's one of the very few countries in the world where you actually can own your own island and you get lifetime fee simple title. So it's pretty amazing. And in the past, especially during COVID, the demand for islands like skyrocket. Everybody wanted to find the safe haven. So we did do a lot of island sales then, but now the prices have gone up considerably, but they're still available. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
And so to Emiliano's question, yeah, I will create a slide deck of everything that we're going to talk about on the future shows, and
Yeah,
we'll be able to share that with everyone so that you can see more visual elements of what we're talking about. But we've got a pretty good library already, and
yeah,
I'm sure we can get some help from others to contribute photos
yeah,
anywhere from the Mayan ruins to cattle grazing on a mountainside to some of the different businesses that are located in Belize. from Belize Energy, which is the oil and gas company in Belize, to people who own hotels, local bed and breakfast equivalents, or real estate projects, restaurants, some fantastic food and chefs down there serving
Yeah,
tourists who
very
are in town. And then you have all the local food. When I was in Punta Gorda, we managed to hit 3 or 4 restaurants that were more Creole or Caribbean style food things, and just it seemed like there was an endless list of
good.
things to eat that were all delicious.
Yeah, lots of great food down there for sure, and we're getting more and more restaurants. We're getting some more like pretty famous foreign restaurant owners that are coming down there and picking up restaurants and revamping them. So it's a great food scene. So that's a whole nother subject matter that we can do. Carl and I could even go on a road trip in Belize and for a day and zip through all the different restaurants and show a bunch of shows or slides or pictures of all these different restaurants and amazing food. Also, in the future, we'll also have, besides photos, we can have some graphics and some statistics about the tourism, the appreciation, all these kind of things. So there's lots of stuff we can share with everybody. I'm glad we just got this first show going.
Yeah, so anyway, we're going to wrap up for today. Thank you for everybody who's in the audience. This show is recorded, so it will be available for later viewing on LinkedIn and YouTube and Facebook. And if you have an interest in Belize, in any potential topic that might become a subject of a future show, please reach out to me or to Boris, and we'll be happy to fold it into our list of shows going forward and contribute to our future planning. So, Boris, last words on anything about Belize that you want to leave with the audience?
Yeah, it's warm there right now. It's cold here in Denver.
Yes, yes. I'm looking forward to my next trip down there. So, thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thanks everybody.
Take care.